Alright everyone, this week we're going to do something pretty fun. We're going to create a realistic coin effect right here inside Photoshop using channels and lighting effects. Now, while the result here is going to be really cool, what I want you to pay attention to is the process. There are some steps in here you might find pretty useful when we're using things like lighting effects and channels and things like that. But what we're going to ultimately be creating, as I mentioned, is a realistic coin effect. And that's the kind of a really cool embossed effect you see on coins. It's got like a profile of a face, and it looks like a really cool embossed look. And that's what we're going for here. And it all starts with a photo. Here I have this photo of this young lady that I want to use. And it's got a lot of interesting things going on. It's got the profile of her face, and her hair is kind of going in crazy here. So it's going to make it a good subject for my coin. And you can, of course, use any photo you like. You know, you can try it with your kids, try your own face, or even try your pets. You can do all kinds of really neat stuff here. So let's start. What we need to do is go into the channels palette, and we need to find the channel that has two things. It's got the nice balance of contrast and detail in it. So if I click on the red channel, you can see it completely blows out the face and everything like that. That's not going to do us any good. The green channel, not too bad. Nice balance here, a little bit of detail. The blue tends to black out a lot of these areas in the hair, which is not very good. So I think green is going to be the winner here. So with green selected, let's take it down and create a duplicate of that channel. And working on the green copy, what we need to do, in order to be able to get the smooth bevel look we want, we need to smooth out the really, really fine detail. Now I did mention that we want to have the channel that had the best detail, but kind of like more in a general sense. This really fine detail in the face, I need to smooth that out, because when we apply it and the lighting effects, it's going to take all those little parts and apply the embossing to it, and we don't necessarily want that. It's going to look really rough and bad. So what we need to do is go into the filter menu, and we're going to choose blur, and we're going to select surface blur. And you can see right away what's going on here. If I toggle this on and off, it's going over all the solid areas and smoothing them out, giving them a nice smooth blur, while it's leaving the edges pretty sharp here. It's not blurring the overall image, just the flat areas of the face and everything like that, all these smooth areas. So once that is all done, let's go ahead and click OK. So now our image is set to apply the effect. So let's go back into the composite channel, back into our layers. And we're going to go ahead and create a new blank layer right above this one. And I'm going to press Shift Delete to open up the fill dialog here. We're going to use 50% gray and click OK. And on that gray layer, what we're going to do now is go into the filter menu and go to Render Lighting Effects. And inside here, and by default this should be on set to none. This is what it'll look like when you open. So you can see inside the window here, we've got this little lighting direction, and we can actually narrow the light or reposition it all together. I'm going to actually have it kind of coming in from the top left here. And it's down here in the texture channels. You can see if I click on this menu, we get a number of different options. You can choose any one of your original channels. We're looking for this one right here, the green copy. And when I select that, you can see it's already giving me a really kind of interesting bevel effect. Now, here's the thing. You will tend to want, if you're looking for harsher texture, you can see how soft it looks here. The thing is, because this preview is so small, that softness isn't accurate. It's actually a little bit rougher than it is. And you'll see what I mean when I hit OK here. But just so you can know, if we click on white as high, in this case, it's actually giving me kind of a sunken in effect, like it's kind of carved out of it. We don't necessarily want that. We want this figure to be raised off it, just like a real coin would be. So we're going to turn off white as high, and actually now it looks like it's raised or embossed in there. This setting here for the height, if we take this up to mountainous, you can start to see the detail in here really good. If I click OK, it's going to be really bad. You want to keep the setting pretty low. In fact, I'm going to keep it at around 40. And it looks very, very subtle, but watch what happens when I hit OK here. I'm going to click OK. And look how much detail there is that you didn't see, because that preview was very small. So don't be deceived, don't be deceived by that preview until you hit OK and see what kind of a result you get, which in this case actually looks pretty good. So now let's start to generate the coin shape itself. I'm going to grab my elliptical marquee tool here, and I'm just going to hold down the Shift key and the Option key, and draw the selection out from the center here. And let's get, I'm going to frame it right inside there so the face is in here, and I got a little bit of space in here to add the text in. And with that selection ready, I'm going to go ahead and press Command or Control J, and it's copying that selected area to its own layer. So let's turn off the original layer and turn off the original picture. And on that layer, let's go ahead and just center this into the document. So I'm going to press Command or Control A, and then up here in the options, I'm just going to center it and then center it here. And just deselect. So let's put a background on here. I'm going to actually Command or Control click directly on the new layer icon, and it'll pop a new layer beneath the currently active layer. And let's just fill it with white by pressing Command Delete, and it would be Control Backspace. So there we have the coin on its own layer. Let's add a few more things to this. I'm going to load this layer as a selection by Command or Control clicking directly on it. And I'm going to go into the Select menu, and we're going to modify this by going to Contract. And we're going to set the contraction to about 12 pixels. I think it looks pretty good. Let's click OK. Actually, that might have been a bit much. Let's take it to 10. So it gives me a little inset selection there. Well, I'm going to inverse the selection by going to the Select menu and choosing Inverse. So now the outer area is selected, which includes this little bit of the coin itself. And like I did earlier, I'm going to press Command or Control J. And if I turn on this layer, you can see what it's done. It's given me that little circular area. Well, I'm going to lock the transparency and just press Shift Delete, bring up the fill dialog again, and use 50% gray. So now I have a solid gray ring, which is going to be the rim of my coin here. So go here and double click on the layer to bring up the layer styles. And I'm going to activate bevel and emboss here. You can see it's starting to come together here, but what I'm going to do is change a few things in here. But first go over here and turn off the Use Global Light. And we're going to go into the gloss contour here and just click on this arrow, and I want to choose the second one in the bottom row here. And you can see what it's done. It's starting to give me a little bit rough edge there. And I can make this a little bit harsher by increasing the depth a little bit and maybe perhaps changing the angle. But a little bit of experimentation, and it starts to give me a really interesting edge here. Let's take the size to about 3. And I think that looks pretty good. So let's go ahead and click OK. We've got that nice style applied to it. Well, now let's add some text in here. I'm going to go over here and grab my text tool, and let's just click right in this area here. And let's put a date in there. Let's do 2008. And it's a good size. Let's take this text up a little bit in size. Well, now I need to make this look like it's embossed in the coin. So let's double click on that layer to apply a layer style. We'll do a bevel and emboss just like we did earlier. And turn off global light. In this case, I'm actually going to choose emboss. And let's take the size down to about 3. And the text was filled with black, but I want it to blend in with the coin itself. So let's go into the blending options here and take the fill opacity to 0, which will reduce the opacity of the original pixels, leaving the layer style intact. So let's go back in here and increase the depth a little bit, and perhaps make the size a little bit smaller. So now that text is really starting to look like it's embossed inside there. Let's adjust the angle here a little bit. And like we did earlier, you can go in here and maybe change that contour. Maybe make it a little bit softer. Take that depth down. So now that looks like it's nicely embossed inside the coin there. So let's click OK there. Well, now let's do one last thing. Let's add some text around the edge here. If you see on coins, it's got, the text going around the edge. So let's grab our ellipse shape tool. Not the elliptical marquee, but the elliptical shape tool. And we're going to make sure we choose this second icon here, which is the path. So we're just going to hold down the Shift key and draw out a circular path. And let's grab the direct select tool and just kind of center that in there. Now what I'm going to do is grab the text tools we did earlier, and I'm going to put the text on a path. If I put my text tool right over the path here, you see it kind of turns into a little line there. Let's just click. And let's just type United States. Grab my move tool. Let's press Command or Control T, and let's just scale this up so that lettering is a little bit closer to the edge of the coin itself there. And then let's perhaps rotate this just a little. And there we have it. Now, I want to apply this same layer style we put on the date here right on this text here. And really quickly and easy way to do that is hold down the Option or Alt key. And then right here in the Layers panel, you can see the effects icon applied. If you hold down that Option or Alt key and click and drag that effects icon to the layer you want to apply it to, it pretty much copies and pastes it right there. But all we need to do now is right here in the fill, just take that fill to 0. And there you have it. Let's actually reposition this date here. And there you have it. Really cool coin in there. Now, if you're at this point and you say, well, I don't want a silver coin. Maybe I want to do a copper coin. Well, all you need to do is this. Hold down the command key and click and load the selection of the overall coin size or coin shape itself. Select the topmost layer. Make sure that path is deactivated. And go into the adjustment layer menu and choose hue saturation. Then right inside, with that active selection, you can see it's gone ahead and put a layer mask on there to mask that coloring. Let's click Colorize, and let's take the hue to about 20. Saturation, let's take to about 40, and let's take the lightness to about a -10. And there we have a copper coin. So, really, really cool way and a quick and easy way using channels and lighting effects to create a realistic coin effect and give you really cool result there. And using different colors, you can pretty much make any coin you want in any color. Pretty cool stuff.